All right, welcome everyone. It's 5 o'clock. We'll get started. Relatively brief agenda for today. So at this point, I'll call to order the monthly meeting for the Hannaford Regional Technical School District for Wednesday, May 10th, 2017. Do we have, before we get started, do we have any adjustments to the agenda? What do we need? Do we need an executive session for negotiations?
Executive session for negotiations,
Okay.
yes.
And for personnel as well. And what we'll do is we'll move the policy 4.1 up before the executive session while the camera's still here. All right, let's lead off with the introduction of board members. Lorraine, would you like to start?
Lorraine Morris, UP3 representative.
Kim Farnham, Mount Abe, community at large member.
Michael Giorgio, Middlebury at-large member.
Linda Barrett, clerk.
Lynn Cole, superintendent.
Jason LaRock, workforce development.
Mark Perrin, workforce development.
Melissa Beckwith, workforce investment board member.
Mike McGrath, Addison Northwest.
Lynn Schmidt, adult ed and cooperative education.
Kelly Mills, DS Students and Assistant Director.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Do we have any visitor comments? Dick?
Thank you to those that donated for the spring thaw for the teen center. We had our most successful fundraising campaign this year. Specifically, thank you, Mark and Green Peppers Restaurant, for being a corporate sponsor. If you didn't catch it this year, it'll be happening again next year, and I'll hit you up again for it. But if you did this year, thank you.
Excellent. Lynn, do we have any correspondence?
I do not.
Okay. The next item is the consent agenda. I see that the bills are not on here.
There are.
Gretchen's on vacation. I believe we're doing them. We're going to review them at some point and then accept them at our next board meeting.
Okay. I just noticed that. So the only thing on our consent agenda for today is the meeting minutes for April 12th, 2017. There's a copy of those in your packet. Would anyone like to remove those for further consideration? All right, hearing none, consent agenda has passed. Next item is policy 2.1, treatment of students. This is a monitoring report. There's a copy of that monitoring report in your board packet. Lynn, would you like to speak to this?
The board has that. I don't think there's many changes. I reference it in my superintendent's report. I'm here to answer any questions or concerns you might have. Treatment of students 2.1.
I just had one when I was reviewing it. If there's a way that, I know it's in the handbook, so all students get the handbook, and I'm sure everybody reads it from front to back. But is there ever any effort put forth to make students aware of this policy? And
Other than being in the handbook. I mean, teachers go through that handbook with their classes at the beginning of each school year. I don't know that they do it at the beginning of each semester, which is always a concern because you have a few new students. I guess I can't answer affirmatively that is done in any great detail in those classrooms, but they are supposed to go through the handbooks with the students.
which leads me, I kind of presume that answer because I think that's the kind of answer we usually get. Should we, or as a board, I'm speaking to the board, put in there that there should be an effort to make it more well-known? We can modify these at any time. This won't come up again until next year, right? It's a once a year.
It is. Well,
so we have,
understand that all of these policies, it's not like, that's when they're reported out. We adhere to the policies all the time.
I get that.
Right.
But in terms of us, working on the policy or adding a number 6, I'm not sure if that's appropriate to put it in as a number 6 or if we want to address it at some point on the policy, budget and policy committee or
Yeah,
something like
I
that.
think it's an item that the Budget and Policy Committee should take up. But we should be looking at the policies on a yearly basis anyway. And the comments that come out of these meetings should help shape that. Mike?
Number 2, John Watson, IT director. We need to change that, right?
We will.
We will.
In next
That's
year's
my
report.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's reporting out now, so he does have that responsibility.
Got it.
Any further questions for Lynn on policy 2.1? All right, thank you. Take a motion to accept policy 2.1.
So moved.
Been moved. Is there a second? Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Just a question. So are you moving your concern to budget policy?
Yeah, budget
Yeah.
and policy.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting policy 2.1, monitoring report for treatment of students, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion is carried. On the flip side of that is policy 2.2, treatment of staff. This also is a monitoring report, and I'll turn it back over to Lynn.
Same information. You've had it. I'm here to answer any questions or concerns you might have.
Take a motion to accept policy. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept monitoring report for policy 2.2, treatment of students,
Staff.
or staff, sorry. Is there any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion's carried. Next item is to approve additions to the BERF fund. There's a copy of that in your board packet. And once again, I'll turn it over to Lynn.
Sure. The BERF fund is a fairly robust document and shows history back to 2012. Everything up through 2016-17 has been approved previously. Those expenditures have been approved previously by this board. So everything listed in column 2016-17. Changes that we are bringing forth to you at this point, and this is coming out of the Facilities Committee meeting a week ago Monday. First of all, you have $107,168 that the voters voted on to place into the BERF fund, and that's from FY16 carryover monies. And you have basically, we had zeroed everything out except for $1,208 that's still in reserve for anything that is anticipated at the barn and North Campus. That's been moved forward. So I'm on column 2017-18, starting at the top. You see those two figures. Moving down, you have what we're proposing is to move $20,000. We're asking permission to use $20,000 of that BERF fund to purchase a new to us short bus. It was recommended by John Curler that we have 2 of those. The Facilities Committee felt that we could get by with just 1. In addition to that, we are requesting $25,000 in monies from that fund for a new security camera system here at main campus. We have a camera system at North Campus that covers the interior of the building. We want that system for both upstairs and downstairs. We've had some inappropriate after-hours kinds of activities that have been going on, and we would like to capture those on video. So that was a recommendation by Miss Mills, and we've moved that forward through facilities. Facilities have approved those two items. Just for new board members, in terms of expenditures, the superintendent has the authority to move $5,000 within and across categories in budgets. The facilities committee has the ability to expend up to $15,000. Anything over that has to be approved by the board. Both of those items are over that. So we do have some items that are still outstanding that we haven't spent yet. Some of those are the refurbishing of the burners in our boiler systems, the front walk, those kinds of things. So as also, I just as I'm on this, and I'm not sure that expenditure is even going to come out of this, it may come out of this year's budget, but I hope you noticed the repaving of our parking lot out front. That was getting to where someone's car was going to disappear. So that's been going on this week, and they just paved today. So. Questions on the two things that I'm asking for approval for basically tonight is the $20,000 for the bus and the $25,000 for the camera system. And if within your motion, I would suggest that you make those two, identify those two purchases.
Any questions for Lynn or the facilities committee on how we got to these
I would
numbers?
just comment, I would say, yeah, probably want to do the bus. I had to tell it this week, so. We're probably getting time.
Was that you that?
Yeah.
Where was that? That was at,
Up at Shelburne Farms, he goes,
Oh,
yeah,
Shelburne Farms.
come pick up the short bus up there. There's like 6 short buses.
Didn't the long
Hopefully we get the right one.
The long bus. had a
Yeah,
problem.
exactly.
Yeah, I can't tell that one.
Can you find a better one?
I should just grab the other one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
upgrade.
Find the
Yeah,
newest
but
one, take that one.
mine kept Mike pretty busy yesterday. He was all over the road towing.
Your wife on Court Street.
I make a motion that we accept the BER fund dated, updated as of May 1st, 2017, which includes $20,000 for a bus and $25,000 for a camera system for the main campus.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I just like to say, our hope isn't to catch the activity on camera, it's to deter the activity.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah, yes. Thank you for that clarification.
No problem. Any further discussion? All right. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. And the motion is carried. Thank you. Next item. Papers back in order here. Is to authorize authorization of invoice payments, which is a statutory requirement. We do it every year. Lynn?
You've kind of explained it. These are statutory requirements, and we do it every year, usually at the May board meeting, so that we can do the things that we need to do to carry on business through the summer months. So, one is to authorize invoice payments if the board does not meet. The second one is signatures on accounts.
So let's,
And we've changed those to not names but positions, if you look at that one. And the third was to be able to borrow money, and I believe that's up to $1,025,000, $125,000. And what that does is cover our expenditures for the first half of the year. The districts are obligated to pay us, I believe it's the middle of August. What they tend to do is bring those in. We borrow money for the first half of the year, and then for the second half of the year, they pay us the full amount. So we get the full amount in December, we pay off that loan and move forward, and that's been customary over the years. So those are the 3 resolutions. I'm only finding 2, so I'm missing one somewhere. There it is, okay. And I suppose you should take action on those one at a time.
yeah, that is.
I wanted to explain them.
Yep, that is my intent. So with the corporate resolution, we need to have 2 board members authorized.
You need to have all your board, for the corporate resolution to borrow money, that's the last
Yeah,
one?
the last one, but the first one that we're talking about right now for invoice payments,
Yep,
we need to have 2 board members listed on that. So currently we have Mark and Mike. Is that the pleasure of the board?
And Lorraine, you can help correct me if I'm wrong. That is true. We usually have more than 2, I think, for the weekly ones, but this is, I think, a little different. This is when we don't meet as a school board.
Yep.
And so a lot of times that's summertime,
Yep.
and a lot of times we use folks that are in Middlebury. And I don't know, are you on that this year?
I think I was on it last year as well.
Okay.
I've like gone for a week in August, that's it.
Okay, so no problem.
Otherwise, I'm down here every day.
All right.
do you have one in there?
Yeah, I have the one that needs to be
So
signed.
you'll add there.
Yeah, I'll add that and get that taken care of and get that.
Who are you putting in it?
Mike McLaughlin and Mark Parent. All right. Do we have a motion? A motion to authorize to sign the authorization of invoice payments? Been moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion is carried. Second one is the authorization signatures on account, which is the one that we changed, which is this corporate, the second corporate resolution. And that's the one that has all the names on it already for, on the backside. So I need to sign that, and Jane needs to sign that.
Right. Just to be clear, you're approving those people in their positions. What you're
Yep.
approving is on the front.
Yep.
What he did is put who those present people are on the back.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Your title is director or superintendent?
Both at the moment.
Right.
It's whatever suits him at the time.
Well, I'm just asking because
Yeah.
Right.
technically
It's always been on here as director, and it doesn't matter. I suppose it would matter.
It would matter if we don't have a if,
You have to have a director.
yeah, we have to have a superintendent.
Gotta have both.
So, all right.
Well,
That sounds complicated, can you tell?
So, so it's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Okay, motion's carried. The last one of these is the corporate resolution to borrow money.
And each board member has to sign that, so
Yes.
we'll have to send it around.
That I will. Is there a motion to accept that one?
So moved.
It's been moved, and it's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion has carried.
One abstention.
One abstention. All right, so I will circulate that.
The first corporate resolution, you have to have one other board officer sign that.
So what we'll, at this point, we're gonna move into our information agenda. We have a presentation. I'll get these signed and circulated while that presentation's going on. That,
Wait,
so-
you're not gonna give us your undivided attention?
We have some.
It would make, we can wait, you know, and we'll take care of this, but it'd make for very poor
I
television.
can also get set up.
So here is the corporate resolution to borrow money, and I'm gonna send it that way.
You also have to sign.
Would you all like two screens? Or is one sufficient?
Is what?
Two screens or one?
I'm gonna move.
Am I good? You can see better. No answer, I'm gonna stick with one.
You got that up a lot quicker than superintendent usually does.
I might have heard that van. Some more of that? No. Great.
It does take a little while to get to a charge on this.
Yeah. And we usually come a half hour early.
I know. No, he's not the IT guy. so-
More. I can train her if you'd like.
Know what they say?
I might come to the next board meeting with a patch on
Look, two packs. Joe Blanchett was there.
Thank you.
He had both eyes done last week.
More.
Okay.
So
I
for
did
those
have enough
of you,
there,
oh,
too.
yeah. So for those of you who I haven't met, my name is Gina Strata, and I'm the Center's literacy coach.
And I'm Wendy Pratt, the math coach.
And what Wendy handed out is a district summary report that comes from NWEA, the testing company we use for our in-house assessments. So we will go into that in a little bit of detail. The first page is the fall scores for math and reading district-wide. The second page is the spring scores, math and reading district-wide. And the separate page helps you to understand what those numbers mean. We'll get into, again, some of that in detail in a moment. So this is our yearly report out to you all regarding policy, ENS Policy 1 or 1.1, depending upon your source, which pertains to academic skill attainment for students enrolled in our programs, secondary students, I should specify, enrolled in our programs. Oh, my clicker's not gonna work. Oh, I thought it was all set up.
I can get the
There we
clicker
go.
to work.
Okay.
So we use, as Sheena said, we use the MAP assessment, and some good things about that assessment are, first of all, it's very similar to the SBAC in its delivery, so it's helping students get some extra practice with that type of testing. It's adaptive, so it tries to find the skill level of the particular student. And because of that, we get very specific data that is informing where that particular student is. So these are some of the reasons why we chose to go with this one. It's also relatively easy to administer and pretty cost effective in comparison to some of the tests that are out there.
It's also not given by any of our sending districts, so we don't have duplication of efforts, and we don't have inequitable situations in programs where some students would have taken a test. Say if we use the STAR, then we'd have Middlebury students who are just taking it, and it'd be inequitable. And the reason that we test in March is because this will come up later. We are attempting to avoid the spring testing fever that starts up, particularly for juniors. With SATs and SBACs and science kneecaps. There's plenty of assessment opportunities for them. So we try to get out and ahead of that. I don't know if we did or not, which is something we'll talk about. A little bit of data on the students who we tested. The numbers are small, but they're actually not that small compared to previous years. And the reason that we included these students in IEPs will become clear later, but it works out to 22% of students on each test for each semester. I don't know exactly what the odds of that happening are, but it laid out evenly, because you will notice it's a different number of tests, of students tested. So
But they're the same students.
they're the
right?
same students, but you will notice it's a different number. For instance, on the reading test in the fall, 219 students were tested. Same semester, same student body, 223 students took the math test. Some of that is due to unplanned absences, some of that is due to planned absences, such as co-ops, and some of that is due to things beyond our control. So there are other factors. I think it's important to remember this is not even pre and post test data of the exact same kids. Spring enrollment, as you all know, drops off, or you have some classes where it's an entirely different student body. As I'm going to assume, saw in your board packets that, boy, I am not articulate tonight. In the board report that we included for you in your packet, we broke it down by program. And you will notice there are some very small sample sizes there. In some cases, there are 3 students within the same program who completed the year. So when we're looking for growth, we can only look for growth in terms of students who are enrolled with us in the fall and the spring. So there are very small sample sizes.
Probably the best thing that we could do to have accurate data in front of us is if we pre and post tested each semester. But that's a lot of testing, and we already get pushback for taking the time to do this. So we haven't thought that with the size student body we have, that's going to make that big of a difference. So we haven't gone there yet.
So if you look at the fall, we'll start with reading results. We started with students who scored in the 50th percentile or higher. That's calculated by NWEA, and that's only calculated for students up through grade 11. So when you take out the seniors, there were 131 students in the fall, and 60.3% of those students scored at or above the 50th percentile. In all of our charts, green is good, because we like alliteration. And when you look at the spring, it's a little lower. Again, it's only 93 students total, and 57% of them scored 50th percentile or higher.
And similarly with math, in the fall we had 63% scoring above, and then it drops off in the spring as well, down to 57. And in general, nationwide, the math mean RIT scores are slightly lower than the reading.
And nationwide, they drop off in the spring. So now some college readiness information. So another thing we really like about the NWEA is that it is somewhat aligned to the ACT, in the sense that, as the slide says, NWEA researchers have found a predictive relationship between how students do on the MAP assessments and how they do on the ACT. And the ACT comes out with these college readiness measures. They also have career readiness measures, but those were new for 2016, so we don't have data to use at this point. I know college and career readiness is our goal, but this standardized test only really looks at the college, so we're doing what we can for now. And the ACT measures college readiness like we do. It's a student's ability to enroll in first-year credit-bearing college courses and earn that credit without remediation. So with that in mind, 41% of our students in the fall were on target for scoring an ACT of 24, which is in line with that measurement. It's more rigorous than other ACT measures you hear, but it is the ACT measurement that NWEA recommends that their partner schools use. It's also the average score of students accepted into nationwide state colleges. That's what I'm trying to say. and this is a breakdown by grade level. You will notice that our underclassmen, our 9th and 10th graders, are greatly outperforming their junior and senior counterparts. We could speculate as to why. We have actually, in our own conversation, speculated as to why, but we don't have any hard data to really speak to that. It is troublesome. Yes.
Feedback from my daughter many years ago when she took the first test, and she was appalled how poorly she did. And here's somebody on honor society and all this other stuff. So, but the thing that should remind me about is there is a gap sometimes about when they take additional, math especially.
That's right.
And I know there are some kids who aren't introduced to like physics, for instance, until 11th grade. So yeah, that's going to affect it.
It is.
And not only that, but a lot of kids can finish their 3 credits of math by the time they are a junior, and then they've had nothing for
And that's what she had done.
a year and a half.
So algebra was like,
Yeah, and a lot of these, it starts out because it's a 6th grade plus test, so a lot of the topics are lower level. So I think it makes a lot of sense that the 9th graders who've recently done a lot of this work are scoring higher.
Thank you.
So breakdown for the spring, just to remind you, so we were at 41% on target in the fall, drops to about 39% in the spring, but again, we're looking at 170 students. And the breakdown's still not great, I won't lie to you, I wanted to cry a little bit when I saw these, but later in this presentation, I'll put this in a context that made me feel better and will hopefully make you feel better, and none of us will shed tears. And when I compare the spring to the last year's spring to this spring, there is growth, there is an improvement. So we jumped from about 32% of students on target for that ACT 24 to 39%. Not a percentage of college readiness that we're excited about necessarily, but growth, I think at this point with a new test and all of the changes that have happened with our literacy program is, I'm going to use the word huge. It's definitely, I was happy to see this. It's movement in the right direction.
And so here's the same data for math. So for fall of 2016, we had about 43% that were scoring on target for that ACT score, that 24. And then in the spring, here it is by grade level, and again, you see those 9th and 10th graders, the green bars higher, so they're scoring better than their counterparts.
So are you saying that, or is your assumption is that our 11th and 12th graders are not taking higher level math?
Not necessarily.
It's one possibility.
Okay.
It's one possibility.
When we look at this 2 or 3 years from now, are you thinking that the column on the right is going to show the same kind of, like, will the green be higher on when those 9 and 10 grades get higher? Will they stay that way, or will they fluctuate?
So that's part of the issue is, we don't really know exactly why 11th and 12th are dropping off. It could be, hey, I'm a senior, I don't really care about this test as much.
Is there any data that we have on the 11th and 12th graders that give us any kind of way to measure backwards?
Well, we've only been giving this is our 3rd time, so we didn't even have it all last year. We only had it 1 semester last year.
And did we do anything before that did any kind of analysis like this? Or
We did the AccuPlacer, but I don't know if we ever broke it down in this way, broke down the data. Again, our goal, Mike, obviously, is to, if not eliminate the purple bar, greatly decrease its size. That's our goal. That's where we're going. This is just, and as we go through the presentation, we'll come to a couple other things that might be factors in that.
So in the spring, we had, it was pretty similar, 41%, and here it is by grade level. So actually, grade 11 was a little bit better in this one. They were a little closer together.
So here's some of the context I was saying that I was hoping would make you feel better. So again, comparing NWEA data to the ACT counterparts in terms of career readiness measures, 44% of the students who took the ACT scored as college ready in reading and 41% in math. So that tells us, even though our numbers are not amazing, they are in line with national trends. It's not like our student body is massively underperforming. Students nationwide are kind of massively underperforming. So it's a larger system in which we are working that we need to address these issues at home. And nationally, again, these reading and math ACT scores have dropped since 2012. So something larger is happening. And again, we could speculate, but we don't have any hard data to support that, so we will not speculate. There's also the issue of time spent on the test in terms of buy-in. This is something I think Wendy alluded to earlier. It's something that we are working on. You know, we have some general data just from being in the room, but it's all anecdotal data. When you look though at how long students spend on the test, the reading AccuPlacer now. The reading map has approximately 42 questions. Many of them have longer passages. It should take a person approximately 45 minutes to take this test. And you'll notice in the fall, half of our student body took about 45 minutes and half of our student body took less. When you compare that to the spring, and I can tell you as someone who proctored this test, some kids were blowing through it. So we definitely have a culture buy-in issue that we need to address. Similar in math.
Yep, similar with math, 108. And again, it should take about 50 minutes. I think there's 54 questions on the math.
Yeah.
And more than half on the spring took less than 45 minutes.
Yeah, so we have some work to do in that area, and we've talked about ways to address that moving forward.
And do you have that broken down by age group? Like,
No.
is there a?
No, we do not. Just overall student body. So in terms of our work forward, our call to action, if you will, the bulleted items on the screen are the items that we put in the draft Perkins plan that this board approved at a previous meeting. There are other things that we would like to see that we are hoping for moving forward. We are hoping for increased collaboration between coaches and the center's administrative team. We'd like to be able to meet with the administrative team more often. That is something that is pointed to in research about coaching that is effective. That's something that we'd like to see. We really talked about using assessment data to plan instruction. That's tricky, you know, if you look at the one report we gave you, teachers have access to about 5 reports that are similarly covered in tiny numbers, and so it takes people a little while to wrap their heads around them. So we feel like that's a good opportunity to bring in some professional development from NWEA to get one of their experts in. They lead workshops on using instructional data from the map to inform your practice, your professional practice, and your teaching in the classroom, and it's relatively affordable. We could pay for Perkins funds.
And they really help with the differentiation, which is another key reason, you know, for doing this test, because that's hard to do in a classroom, and so this can speak to that directly.
Yeah, we have some ideas for working within our PLCs to really become true PLCs, so that we are talking about data and student learning at them. A long story short, because I think I'm boring you, is that our goal, we have ideas and we have plans to move forward and improve our scores and improve our practice. Yes, Mark?
What's a PLC?
Oh, sorry, professional learning community. It's a group of teachers who come together and hopefully talk about student learning in ways that improve student outcomes.
Right. Is this information and results of this particular testing shared with all the sending schools?
No.
It might be helpful. And I just say that only because they're probably dealing with the same things, obviously on a larger scale, but not sure which tests they use and so on. But
No, you're right. And that gives us a foot to stand on too when we say, can we please see your test data?
exactly.
No, it's a very good idea.
Especially supporting people that are on plans or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that
Right.
gives
Yeah.
consistency to everybody in the district.
Yeah, and that reminds me, that's where the 22% of our students on IEPs comes in. When you look at the college readiness, not one of
Right.
those students met the college readiness benchmark in reading.
Right.
So that also tells us that we should probably be asking some questions about how we're serving our special needs population.
Years ago, when we did the AccuPlacer, or whatever you call it,
Mhm.
I took the time to go to a former employer that I had, which was the Maritime Academy, and heavily concentrated in math. 33% of their freshman class was in remedial math. So as you said, nationwide, and those people are coming from all over the world.
Right.
So it's an interesting dilemma
Right.
that we have.
One good thing that we did find this year was that the programs that we have gone into, or I have a couple of cases where I'm working individually with some students, and we have seen growth in all of those areas. So that is encouraging.
Two questions. One, is there a relationship with the Common Core being taught in the high schools? And two, are you able to see a breakdown of the students coming from the different schools?
Answer question one, this test is aligned to the Common Core. So it should align with both their instruction at their Sunday schools and the work we're doing here, which is all aligned to the Common Core. At this point, the only way to break down our data into students by Sunday school would be to do it manually. That's not a field that has been imported. The import of students into the MAP system is done by John Watson, and so that's not a field that's been included to this point, but that is a field that we plan to ask to have included in the future so we can easily sort it out by Sunday school.
Okay.
We know you all like to see that, we just couldn't do it this time.
Well, it was more to Kim's point
Yeah.
is.
Right, it would be easier to
It would
send.
much-
That's
yeah.
be the first
I
question
think
they'll
that
ask, what
offers
about
us
our
time to bring
students?
back.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
right, well, right. No, I wouldn't send district-wide to all the Sunday schools, I would only send them their students. But yes, it would be an undertaking.
Mike, did you have a question?
I just got a question. If we only have less than half our students that are college ready, we have more than double that of our completers that go to secondary school. Are they taking a lot of remedial classes to catch up? Or,
I don't know the data on that.
Yeah,
I
I don't
think
have
what our
it.
completers might have like 90-some% that go to secondary or college. How are they getting in? Are-
I would say that our college readiness, the data that's up here, that's saying kids are college ready is pretty close to our percentages that are going on. We have, what you're quoting, Mike, is we have a 98% graduation rate.
okay, so the second-
Going on to post-secondary, that's around 44 to 46%.
Okay, so most of them are-
So if you go back to your charts where it's saying how many are college ready, that's pretty close to
Okay.
what that
Yeah.
is. You know what, one of the things is your core group of students. And I think when we're presenting this data, the most important piece of data is, are you showing growth while they're there? That's why we're doing this. So the group of students that we have coming to us are not performing academically at the level of the mean within any of the three high schools. They're performing below that mean. So always been interesting to me is that we have more boys than girls. We have more kids from low-income families than the percentages of those. And we have more kids on educational plans than the mean of those three sending high schools. But at the same time, we're sending a higher percentage onto post-secondary. And our students that are going to post-secondary are being successful. So I think those two pieces of data, you know, what's the groups in these high schools looking like? And then what are the group that are completing in the Career Center? You know, how are those kids that are completing in the Career Center, how are they doing year to year? Are they improving? We have some that says, yeah, I think Sheena had one that from year to year, our core group had made considerable growth percentage-wise in reading. I didn't see that same chart for math from 16 to 17.
I had that last minute,
Yeah.
I think. Maybe I didn't give her enough time.
Okay. So I think those are important data for the board to look at. I think we need to be held accountable, and these guys are holding themselves accountable to So in one piece of data, you are comparing two different cohorts. The cohort that was 2016 to the cohort that's 2017, and at least in reading, we made gain between those two cohorts. The second thing that you're comparing up here is what did the same cohort look like in the fall, and now what do they look like in the spring? And that's the data that none of us are that happy with.
Well, it depends. I mean, that's the data that's in the report that I put in the packet. The reason I didn't put it on the screen in front of the camera is that it's such small pool sizes,
Yeah.
such small data sizes. I don't
Within
want anyone to be
individual
able to-
classes,
I don't want
it's-
anyone
yeah.
to be able to recognize or guess individual students.
Right, so, but I'm just talking center-wide, did we make that gain or not? And there's a lot of reasons to explain that. My biggest way to explain, two ways that I feel, and again, these are anecdotal and, well, I think the one I do have research to support, and that's that kids across the country in career and technical education are not being asked to take those higher level maths and higher level literacy kinds of things within their high school. That was something that came out in our SHREB, our Southern Region Education Board. That's something that they have solid evidence that if they're being asked to take higher level math and science courses in their sending high school, they're going to do better on these tests.
I think we're doing well, because one of our goals when we talked about giving the kids the extra help for math and reading was so that they, when they got to college, they didn't have to take remedial classes, go back, so
Correct.
they could actually concentrate on their actual college work instead of getting caught up.
Correct.
So it looks like we're actually getting there for about, if the college, I was thinking, the completers, the college is in the 40s, so we're getting there.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real positive.
And I think, as these guys pointed out, comparing college readiness to the ACT nationwide, we're looking pretty good. The other one that I don't know that there's a ton of research on, although I think there is, kids test better in the fall than they do the spring. The same kid is going to test better in the fall than they are in the spring. It's just the way kids are made. And it's been the way they've been made forever. I don't know how to explain that phenomenon, but I can show you my transcripts all the way from junior high through graduate school, and it will prove me right with a sample of one. So, but I think that's true. I think they just are like, okay, they're thinking about other things. I don't want to. When you did your task analysis or your time analysis,
Yeah,
it was a lot less in the spring than the fall. It's okay. Springtime, got other things on my mind, especially teenagers. So, that's all I
Any
have.
further questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nice job, guys.
Yeah.
Good report. Like it.
Lots of data.
Yeah, good. Oh, there it is.
So, everyone has signed that one. Richard, would you be the board officer, another board officer, could you, board officer, pass that to Kim to sign? All right, next item is our superintendent's report. So a copy of that in your packet. I'll turn it over to Lynn. All you, superintendent.
Any
superintendent.
questions? I'm not gonna.
So was this your last reflection? Or are we gonna get one in June?
You personally might get one.
Depends on his eyesight.
Yeah, the I've been asked to speak at commencements or at our completion ceremony, so.
You charge
please-
500 to hour.
Please
get
show
one
up.
less.
Any questions for Len? All right. Next item is the Dean of Students report. That is also in your packet.
Any questions for me? Oh, I can report the FFA convention results. We have a first place dairy evaluation team, first place spring forestry team, and both of those teams are eligible to go to the National FFA convention in the fall. We have a second place prepared public speaking individual, a second place job interview individual. We have an individual who won the Cola D. Watson Leadership Award, and that was also earning a check for $50. And we also have the Vermont Outstanding FFA member. So it's really well.
Excellent.
And that's this chapter, the Virgin's chapter also.
I haven't seen that one yet. I saw that it came in, but I didn't.
Yeah, I don't have my phone with me. I do have those, but we also had some statewide winners from the Virgin's FFA chapter.
Excellent. Excellent. Kim?
Had a chance to attend the honors breakfast. that
Thank you for
put
coming.
Together, and parents really appreciate it. It's very personal.
Thank you.
It's something that doesn't happen, especially in a big auditorium.
That's right.
So it gave them an opportunity to share some of that. It was really nice.
Thank you. I'm glad we made that change.
Definitely noticed it.
Any other questions for Kelly? Okay. Next item is the adult technical education report. Len? So a copy of it in your packet as well. Be on the backside of the Dean of Students report.
I apologize that bullets 4 and 7 are kind of regurgitated versions of each other. I guess I was just really excited about it. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. I was expecting to report out on our second LNA class that tested on Saturday. But the Board of Nursing contracts the LNA testing with Pearson View, who has hired a new subcontractor. It's the third subcontractor in 3 years for this program. And they had some kind of glitch so that our students don't know whether they passed the test or not. And won't for a while, apparently. Just very disconcerting. It's very tough on them.
Yeah.
Many of them work at Porter Medical Center and were already penciled into LNA shifts, which they cannot step into until they get their exam results back. And many of them have reimbursement for the course tied up in that, so not very happy with Board of Nursing subcontractor right now.
So what kind of time frame are they looking at? Are we talking weeks, months?
They're declining to answer that question.
Ouch.
Pressure on my gosh. Are you having another forklift certification class at some point?
We just ran, after not running for one for a while, we had 3 this spring. I have 2 people on a waiting list, and I really just need 2 more to run it. So I'm hoping that we will, but right now we've managed to run, I think, a total of over 20 folks through that this spring. I hope we get a few more.
How is the CDL course going?
I'm hearing good feedback. I did initially have some concerns around our class that ran last fall, that ended up being in Barry. There was kind of a high level of student malcontent with that course. And I don't have some of the concerns about the instruction that I had during that course.
Okay.
We did have a pretty short turnaround time. I think the students in that class tested, took their commercial permit exam on the 12th day of the class, which is pretty kind of a drink from a fire hose on you look at the amount of information they have to know for that exam. Only one of the 5 passed on that test. But you do get a printout of what you missed, so it gives you some areas to focus on. And my understanding was that 3 of the other 4 just missed by 1 question. So
Okay.
they're all going to be retesting, and Mike assures me that he's leaving tractor trailers over here until everybody passes. That's where we're at.
All right.
And they've got God as their co-pilot, so.
Excellent. Any other questions for Len before we move on? All right. Next item is the facility committee report. There's a copy of the meeting minutes from the facilities meeting, which was last Monday. So, and of course, as always, I have, there we go. Had some stuff out of order. Is there any questions for the facilities committee?
I assume you're no longer waiting for estimates about paving the driveway because it's done. I figured that we could zap that one.
Yeah.
It just magically got done one day. I don't-
Awesome.
Well, technically, we don't, that's not our space. It's a UD3 space. So it's, you know, it's their purview to do whatever they want with the space around the building.
Good answer.
Is there any other questions for the facilities committee? So are the cameras in the hallway here
Yes.
active? Okay. All right.
There's a sign outside that tells you that.
Yeah. That's,
I noticed as I
Yeah.
go.
So-
Thank you.
and is that currently the only place in the building? Or do you have, okay, never mind.
I'll tell you in June.
Yep, all right.
Just change your habits.
All right, so, at this point, we have policy 4.1, governing style. Do we have a volunteer to talk about governing style today? Mike?
Sure. I think we had a really good meeting. Everybody waited their turn. Really liked the reports from the faculty. I think that was very helpful to me and hopefully to everybody else. So I hope we continue that. And that's it.
All right, thank you very much. At this point, I take a motion to go into executive session for negotiations and for personnel.
So moved.
All right.
Anybody you want?
You're talking, you're gonna run the negotiations,
Yeah.
and who would you like in the room?
I just me, Mike. We don't need to have Lynn if he doesn't need to be here for the other, or if he needs to be here for the other.
He doesn't need to be. So,
Yeah.
all right. Let's do it.
Thank you. Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks a lot.